side. Yeah.
You had an issue in the yard. I remember, talking about jumping in for your homeboys because you feel obligated against one of my people, or against a bunch of my people, I guess. Where none of us held it against you because you did the right thing for your boy. No, like not even, it wasn't even your friend.
No,
So
absolutely.
yeah. So talk about that. Was that on? Were you high, or like what ended up happening with that situation? I wasn't down the block.
Man, yeah, dude, that was a fucked up scenario. So to be the truth about how it all happened, I feel like I have to kind of talk about before it as well, because it definitely, now hindsight in 2020, it had to have impacted the scenario with my trust.
Welcome back to the W Number, folks. I got my boy Jeff in the house. Did a lot of time with him in the Max, and he's got a great reputation. He's from Fall River, my first guest from Fall River ever. And yeah, I think it's great to put that city on the map. The reputation for them in the Max, everything. We're gonna get into everything with him, his life. He had a little problem with the deuce, and I think that's something we want to highlight because he ended up doing a lot of time in segregation over it. So we're gonna get into everything, man. Jeff, give us a little introduction about who you are, where you grew up.
What's going on, man? Jeff Murray from Fall River. I'm pretty much born and raised through DYS. Anyone that is from around here, from my area, is in DYS. Any age group of mine will know who I am. Pretty much went from DYS to the adult system, right to upstate, and then came home at like my late 20s and had to start my whole life now, essentially. I mean, never got to do dances with school, never did any school function, never been on a vacation, never, nothing really, ever. Any of that stuff you get to do, you know what I mean? Like, anyone that's been through it knows, like, when you leave DYS for a little bit and you're like, damn, man, I gotta try and get some ass because I need to lose my virginity before I end up back in there. Everyone else is losing their virginity and shit. Like, he's in there and trying to, like, fit regular life in and then get into the system. I never even got a chance to, like, get habits or nothing like that. A lot of people where I live have heavy drug problems. Like, a lot of people lost in the last couple of years. My age, this generation. Well, I ended up catching a habit when I came home because of being with Max, and everything that transpired in there kind of evolved into things without most of us that came home even realizing it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So let me take you back a little bit to your childhood. So did you grow up? You had brothers, you had sisters. What was your home like your neighborhood, all that?
So I grew up in Fall River. It's to people that aren't familiar with the city, it's more of just fighting, getting into trouble. I mean, there are groups of kids that are more affluent or more high end, if you will, high class, but for the majority of us, it's Portuguese, Irish kids, and our parents coming here, and our grandparents usually are the ones that kind of held it down and stuff like that, where most of my friends had more conventional in that sense, where I was having Thanksgivings and Christmases at other friends' houses, and didn't really even understand why. My mother never did drugs. I love my mother. She just didn't really know how to deal with a kid like me. So I would always be that kid that was at friends' houses for things, and I thought about not really getting into this part too much before because, amends have been made. Everything's been great, and I love my family more than anything now. But growing up, I didn't really understand why they weren't able to, kind of deal with what I was going through or something. I don't know, but I know there was nights that I was like sleeping in abandoned houses or sleeping at a friend's house. And, I'm very grateful for the friends that I have had that have always taken me in and been a place that I could go, and
absolutely
kind of having that lifestyle. The people you look up to aren't really successful people. They're not, the people that are around and are willing to take you into the car and go and get you food. It's, they're people that are living a street life taking you in. I didn't really have no positive role models, mother's boyfriends when I was real younger were abusive. And then as I got older, she got with a dude who was more well-rounded, but he couldn't tolerate a kid like me who had already been damaged from everything. So it was like, see, if you guys want to be taken care of, you get that kid out of here type of deal. It's the way I felt. But and that's the way he would express it, whether he meant to or not, you know. But
Right.
yeah, so it was more well, you know, to be honest, now that we're grown and adults and can be upfront about it, more abandonment issues were, you know, developed. So then that normally will kind of have you clicking up in the streets with other people who are going through the same thing. You know, it turns into a certain lifestyle, whether it's labeled or not. It becomes a lifestyle of unity with your brotherhood, and your boys are your family. That then brings you to a point of loyalty to a fault. You know what I'm saying? So
Did you end up doing that yourself? Did you end up getting into a gang on the streets and shit?
Not a gang. We just had a very like close group of friends that always did everything. We didn't have no label or nothing. It would just be, we were known for being together and stuff, and always being around.
Was that the Dover boys?
Wasn't that? Isn't older. That's the older kids. Those are kind of the kids that like we grew up kind of looking up to and stuff too, and like you know, idolizing in a sense on like a street level. Those would be getting the stories told about, and then as I get older, those are the dudes that kind of would show me the ropes and stuff, and you know what I mean. They're good dudes. They're from around my neighborhood, but that's actually a little bit older than myself. But when I got into prison, that's what was kind of the, you know what I mean? Because the neighborhood you're from, the people you picked up with are Dover boys, so they assume that, oh, you're from there with him, and you know what I mean. And I got love for all of them that I'm friends with. So, but there's a lot of them that now that as an adult, there's not much to be idolized. So there was good dudes, there was real solid dudes, but drugs have really affected the city a lot. Yeah, the guys that I am friends with, that I look up to, I love them. You know, it's not to say anything bad about any Dover boys at all, but I'm not going to idolize any of that either, because that always led me in the wrong path. I don't want to really show that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, yeah.
So would you say that those are the kids that you kind of idolized growing up? Like those are like the people that you wanted to be like?
Yeah, because you hear stories about them and they always got this respect. There was basically, essentially, what I learned from it is do something real bad to someone the first time, and people will remember it and usually not really try and fuck with you too much. And that's a story that most, you know, back in the day, anyways, a lot of Dover boys were like that. They would kind of take it to that next level. And where I live, there's a lot of different races, and whether we all like to acknowledge it or not, we do intertwine. But when we were younger, it was the white boy in the neighborhood. You know, it was, when I walked into certain places that I would hang out, I would be just the white boy in the neighborhood, like that white boy, you know. And I've legit like dealt with situations, you know, of being there and big, you know, giant dudes coming out and everyone runs, and then I feel I have something to prove, so I don't run, and then I end up being the one getting duffed out by a grown man, and then he's like, damn, you got hard, and yo, who was it? And I'm like, I ain't telling you still. And it perpetuated me into becoming someone that it didn't help me become successful later on, that's for sure. I mean, there's always benefits to it, you know, like trust is a big one. People know they can trust you when you always stick to being stand up, even when you get your head punched in. So it's, you know, those things were beneficial, but it all just made me into like being able to get my ass whooped, not worrying if I was going to get my ass whooped, and being a bigger dude, that like matters, because most big dudes ain't going to really fight anyone, like just anyone. You know what I mean? That's usually selective about it. Whereas like I was busted down and was around older dudes that really could, you know, damage. So it's like I don't know. I didn't have that same. I noticed a lot of dudes that were my size, even in jail, you know, not to say nothing bad, but a lot of them, when you really get to test them, they're not really going to do it, you know. And it taught me to be humble and be polite about it, because I taught from people like, hey, big dudes are the ones that'll get it the worst, because we think you'll hurt us, so something bad to you. So I'm thankful for a lot of the lessons I got from the way I did. You know, it wasn't like, you couldn't really use your size as an advantage. You did that once or twice and got beat up by a smaller dude or something, and it was like, you got to be humble. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone growing up would fight, man. It's just the way they are.
What age were you when you first got in trouble? Like, what was your first experience with the law?
Oh, my first experience with the law, I'd say 13, 12 or 13, with friends from school, coming home from school. And I'm proud of this, but we were walking home from school. I'm not even gonna say who they are. I'm not gonna throw dirt on nobody. One of them got a good name. You probably see this and be like, yo, you motherfucker. But it is what it is. This is what happened. They told on me. Everyone involved told on me. And I had left. I ran away. I got away. And then I knew they got caught, so I felt guilty. And I was like, man, I'm not going to let them go down alone. I turned back around and went walking back. And the cop seen me and was like, you. And I'm like, yeah, like, acknowledging, hey, he's like, yeah, I already know who you are. They already told me what you did. And, and I should have just bounced, you know what I mean? But that was my first time ever getting arrested. The scenario was we were walking home from school. This girl, it was a female, and then her boyfriend and myself walking home from the alternative school. And she was like hitting some dude walking by. She hit him with a belt, like around her waist. And then he got mad and started like trying to get the belt. And then the kid I was with, started throwing rocks. And then we were running. We're young kids, 12, 13. We were running away, pick up like a brick, throw it over. And now I don't know if what I threw or he threw. We were just throwing them, but one of them hit him in the head, and it changed him, though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it changed him. So that situation kind of made me look real bad in the court's eyes at a real young. So I didn't really get any kind of gimmies. You know what I mean? I didn't get no get out of jail free cards after that. Because it looked bad, it was messed up, you know what I mean? And I'm very sorry to them. And
Oh, sorry about that. Did that kind of change like the view of like the people in your neighborhood towards you? Like think like, okay, yeah, he's he's been through it now. He didn't tell, we could trust him and bring you in, type of thing.
I don't know if it was that I was young still when that really, it was more just being around, always being there and getting into shit and things of that nature in the neighborhood where it got to that. And when I went to jail, because my circle of people, I went to school with them, and us younger generation of kids, we never really had. I'll be honest, some of my boys were in other gangs, but they got out of them and stuff, and we just always had a click, like a real strong circle. We trust each other because we came up doing everything together, you know what I mean? And other people will just know things you've done in the neighborhood and in the city in general. Beef with other people, whatever it may be. When we were younger, I'm not really proud of it, but like robbing people, doing dumb stuff, just doing knuckleheads. You need to make money, you need to have money, so you find a place, you break into the window, steal it, whatever. And I was with the kids doing all that dumb stuff. And
what was the other gang in your city? Like, what other gangs were there? I know there was like ABV and stuff like that, but like, what gangs did you kind of like clash with?
So as far as clashing, I always really got along with everyone. I've been like more in the money getting circles personally. I'm and like things of that nature. It's more towards what I gravitated to. Me and my friends weren't really like neighborhood beefs and stuff like that. So I will say this: when I was young, like maybe around that time period, we had this. It was like a group called Stump Boys back in the day. You know what I mean? And we would fight with the kids from Columbia Street here and there. And, like stuff like that in different neighborhoods, or Fifth Street and 4th Street. Someone call you up, hey, I'm fighting with this one over here, so then you got to go and do it. But for me personally, I really grew up in all these neighborhoods because I had friends that I depended on because I didn't really have my own home like that. It was harder for me because I get along with everybody. I never had real like beef like that. Never. I've never had beef. I've always gotten along with everyone and been more diplomatic. And if I have to, all my fights really have come usually from a friend of mine fighting with somebody and then me being unable to neutralize it. And then you know how people are. If someone comes to you and tries to be a diplomat and now it's like, oh, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? So now I'm involved and it's one of those, like it's usually me trying to do the right thing in a sense, like trying to keep the peace. I really have tried to, like be a diplomat. When I was a kid, it was more so like, just I'll try to neutralize it. But as soon as I felt the inkling that like someone was trying to test me now, disrespect me now, and it's like, well, all right, then I'm going to try and crush you. I'll be there. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be there to find out. And you're going to have to hurt me then. You know what I mean? So
when did you first do like your real stretch in either DYS? Like, how long did you end up doing in DYS, and then like how did that progress through those years?
All right, so truancy and like chins and stuff, things of that nature. DSS got involved because I haven't thought about this in years. DSS got involved because of school. I was getting in trouble at school a lot, getting suspended, a lot of fights. Like I got in a lot of fights at school for not really having what other kids had. So they would like pick on what I didn't have, whether it be clothes or shoes, or, and my mother at this point was still a single mother or just coming into and married to this dude where I didn't really feel accepted. So I would get picked on for not having what other people did have. Yeah, I would end up fighting and stuff, end up hurting people. And then it always seemed to be like when other people would get in fights, they would just get in a fight, go home, come back. I'd get in a fight. And now they're talking about my mom has to pay money for someone's bills and I'm getting charged. And like, it was never just a fist fight. It always ended like messed up. You know what I mean? Like, so it made me want to do it. And then I would hold these things in, and when it did come out, it would end up that same outcome of something bad happening. Someone ended up beyond what I even intended, and it wasn't intentional. And it turned into me going from DYS to I got put on house arrest, and then my mom's husband there that she was with, now married, I had to go back to that house where I was never really welcomed at, and I'm on the bracelet. And one day I was going to walk out the door, and he tried like grabbing me from behind. And I just picked up the first thing I could grab, and it was like a pen. And I, you know what I mean, started just and like just trying to get him off of me. You know what I'm saying? And this dude was an enemy at this time. He was my beef. The cops were the people I had beef with. To be real, if I'm being honest, at that age, like because I was always running from them, fighting with them. At that time, it was just constant something, and it felt so like I didn't feel as though I was asking for it. Obviously, my behavior was. I didn't know how to deal with whatever I was dealing with. I didn't deal with it well at all. On that.
Did you have like mental health issues that were on record, or like things that you dealt with mentally and shit like that kind of made things worse?
Yeah, I've been I mean, anyone that knows me would probably say, yeah, I still am, but I think I do good now. But I've always been open mental health. I've been on medication since I was 6 years old, 5 or 6. When I found out who my real father was, as one of my like older memories. Since then, I feel like I've been on medication since about 5 or 6, and they had me on like adult dosage of Ritalin, Adderall, Strattera, Focalin, Concerta. I was like a guinea pig to these people, and a whole generation.
You must have did multiple bids in DYS. Like you go out
in whole child. Yes. Yeah. From the age of 13, it was really just, in and out of DYS. I mean, till this day, this stretch of me being free now is the longest I've ever been free since I was 12. And my 13th birthday, and then 14th, 15th, 16th, 18th, 19th, 20th. I was out for my 21st, but then I had my 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. And pretty much all of those. And I'd get out for like a couple of months, go back, and then in 2000 and maybe 12 or 13, 14. And that's another thing that deuce damaged my memory and my like timeline so much. It's unbelievable. But I was out for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Excuse me. And that was like my longest time ever being free and out of trouble. I was building a life and not even really doing it right, to be honest with you, selling bud. And I had anything I wanted. I ended up getting raided. I got caught with acid, a shit ton of bud and money, and up until the age of 17, I think probably like 5 or 6 months at a time, I ended up getting committed. I did probably more bids before I was committed than after I was committed. I got 3 to 5, and I was supposed to go to Teamworks, which anyone that knows is supposed to be a good hit. I ended up there for like 9.5 months. They called me a 3 seasons vet. Like I was there way longer than you're supposed to be, dude. So you know what I mean? You end up losing your shoes, getting fights, and just stupidity, lack of self-control, and kids are mean, man. People can be tough and just, they're cruel, man. So, you end up getting into shit. So made a lot of good friends, a lot of friends that I have still, even our kids that I was with back then. So they weren't, we all just were misunderstood. And so I went through that until I was 17, and then I got out and on house arrest. Ended up getting into it with my stepfather. I ended up in jail. I go back to DYS first, though, because I was committed. So they took me in on the inside, PO takes you in. And then I go to court. I'm all like, I was bragging about it, I'm pretty sure, that I was going to adult court from DYS. Like, I thought it made me cool. But I'll tell you what, they had the last laugh because I did not go back to DYS. I went from DYS to Dartmouth. And, man, that was a rude awakening. Yeah, that was
So you go to court from DYS, like you leave the program, go to court for an adult case,
Yeah.
and then end up as like a young man in Dartmouth County at 17.
Yeah, I just turned 17. Like,
Wow. So how did that affect you? Like, what was your mind state going into all of that?
I had a buddy who had already been in there, and he was like, "Dude, you're gonna know people when you get there. You don't know it now because we're young, but it's like the same thing. You're gonna go in there and already know people." And
Mm,
yeah, and I went in there willing to fight. I mean, and that's what the majority of people that might see this might recognize me as a kid in there. And a lot of fighting, a lot of fighting, because they have you. You know, the older dudes will have you crash out, earn your stripes, if you will. And like I said, it all stems back to that kind of feeling of belonging and acceptance and camaraderie. And you do for me, I do for you, and these people take care of you. And as a kid, you got to recognize, like, you went in as a kid too, I'm pretty sure. So it's
yeah,
like
I was
you were
13 now.
with these older heads, like looking
Mhm.
out, hey, yo, crush this dude because he didn't do the right thing. And okay, they'll
Yeah,
give you some in the rottens or whatever, and you know what I mean, get you in and send you over to the next block to crash out. So I
putting in
was
your
that.
work.
Yeah. So it was putting in my work, young, I guess, so there's always like the two sides of it. And my family doesn't understand this part. There's a certain freedom in there. You find that freedom, it's hard to forget about, because in the real world, you'll be walking and thinking when someone does something inappropriate, you're like, it'll be a quick now. Maybe you don't really have it as much if you've been out for a while, but for a
Mhm.
long time, so it's a recognition of what could really happen to that person in the moment of you just deciding to not control yourself, where you're in an environment for so long that that behavior is what helps you thrive. You need to be able to behave that way to be able to get what you need and want in this environment. As unfortunate
Mhm.
as dog eat dog, like you said, it's what you have to do. You're going to get chewed up and spit out, and then what? It probably would have been better if I did. I wouldn't have ended up back in and comfortable, and you know what I mean.
Mm.
Probably would have been for the better. But yeah, I had already been kind of prepped for all of that. DYS got me ready for jail,
Word.
like it was made for that. It
Mhm.
was like preparatory school for jail,
Word.
and you're ready to go and do the time there. That's all it was. Yeah, it's one of the things you had asked earlier. What I'd like to bring awareness to is the way the
Mm.
juvenile system is. It's not really like reform based. It's not. They'll say it is. It's maybe meant to be, but there's a system that encourages this certain mentality. Because
Mhm.
even COs respect you more when you'll hurt somebody.
Word.
Staff respects you more when you hurt somebody. I got more respect from staff after staff assaults than I ever did. And that's like sick if you think about it. You're encouraging me to be an animal when I have to. You need to know that I'm willing to do something to respect me. In the real world, we're not supposed to be taught that.
Fact.
That's you know what I mean. That's a
Mhm.
dungeon life. It's like that's,
What was your first case? You said what it was that kind of got you put into an adult facility from juvenile. Like, what was that case?
it was assault, battery, deadly weapon on a family member, as well as like there was I think 16 other things going on at once. When I was younger, I had been with a kid, and we got involved he got involved in a bad situation, and I was with him, and we were sticking it out, and we ended up having a whole lot of adult cases without really getting into it, and some of them were not the funnest to deal with. Like I said, things that don't really give you a get out of jail free card and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So you go to adult jail at 17 years old. You had an adult case that you were fighting through juvie and like a bunch of other little things, right? Um,
I feel like it was probably like 13 altogether, like assault and batteries. I had a collective of assault and batteries, and then what really kind of put it over was they called it a stabbing with my
mm,
stepdad, and but they made it sound vicious. I stabbed him in the face and neck, and a bunch of like extra stuff, and that just kind of put me into jail now. So putting in work, fighting, and in and out now because I'm on probation. I get put on like a very strict probation, and could not. It's the same thing with DYS. A lot of my violations would be like smoking weed. I would
mm,
so I've never passed a drug test from the age of 12 to whenever I went upstate, 21, 22, and I never failed for anything other than marijuana, though, ever,
Mm.
once. And I smoked weed, so I would always end up getting locked up for that. Or it'd be like I'd have a dirty, and then I'd get into a fight, and then they'd be like, "Oh, well, we can't let you go because you still got this dirty urine too." So now with that, you know what I mean? So I'd constantly be doing 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, just over and over and over and over. And then I got 18 months. I ended up getting sentenced now for the stuff with my stepdad from a probation violation. They had probably, like a quaff situation where we're not going to make you do, 2 years, but you have to be on probation for 3 years and not get in trouble. So
Mm.
my suspended sentence, I end up going away for my suspended sentence. I have to do the 18 months remainder. There was like maybe 6 or 7 months taken off of the 2 years. So I had
Mm.
18 months left. So I did an 18-month bid in the county. And I mean, yeah, that sucked. And that is the reason, that bid was the reason that I agreed to go upstate when I
Mm.
went back on bullshit that I went upstate for. Because I ended up going upstate for something that realistically I didn't do. I went to prison for, this is crazy, another kidnapping and a home invasion, but it was on
Mm.
my uncle. It was on my uncle. And I climbed into the third floor window running from a warrant for, what was that for? A violation of a restraining order. And that's really as far as I'll get into that um,
Mm.
whole situation. But I was running from a violation of restraining order warrant, which is a basic bench warrant type of deal. It's,
Mm.
I had to go to court for violating a restraining order. I scaled up the side of my stepdad's apartment and went into the third floor window. Well, I'm sorry, I skipped the part. I went into the first floor apartment, and then the cops banged on the door. So my stepdad lives on the first floor. They banged on the door, and I heard them. So I just ran out the front to the fire escape and went upstairs to the second floor first. And I'm in like the second floor fire escape little like entry thing. And I had the door locked. And now this is a period of time where I was doing drugs and destroying my life. It's the first time I ever did drugs. I was in my like mid 20s, and it was very brief. It was probably a 6 month stretch, like a run they would call it. 6 months of me getting high, and I had like a quarter stick of dope, which is not just a tiny bit, but
Mm.
you know what I mean? It's a lot to sniff. It's a lot to sniff. And when I got on that porch, I realized it was in my little fifth pocket, and I had the door behind me locked. So I rip out the bag and I bite the knot off, and I just like crunch it up on the table. And I'm trying to just sniff as much as I can before they come bursting in the door and arrest me. They don't end up arresting me. They're like trying to get in, and I tried to like verbally say, "Don't break the door," because I thought they were gonna smash this door, and I was trying to get it out, but I couldn't because I was like choking on all the dope I had sniffed. For real, like couldn't get it out, and they just walked away. So I look around, and it's like a trap door in the roof. I climb up that shit, and I'm laying up on the third floor, well, the roof of the second floor porch at the third floor's fire escape, and I'm laying on this roof, and I start falling asleep. So I look over and there's a window, and I lean over and I open the window and I climb in, and I'm sitting in the house now, and I'm like, I know this dude. It's a guy who was married to my aunt. So I'm like, if I don't tell him I'm here, then the cops are gonna just walk through the house because he's gonna say, yeah, why not? Go look. So I went and woke him up and told him, hey, I need you to hide me. The cops are trying to get me.
Mm.
He says, okay. And he hides me on the other side of the bed. I fell asleep, and he woke me up. I when I looked at the clock, I can't say what time he woke me up, but I remember vividly the middle of the night, waking up and then looking at a clock, and it was like 3:33 a.m. And he was like, "They're gone. You can leave." So I called a ride. I went to the casino, and I was going to hang out at the casino and then go on a plane and go to rehab. And
Mm.
this rehab had already gotten hardship funding for me, like people pay for you to go. So I was good to go. I had a plane ticket and everything. Um, I end up turning my phone off, go to the casino and all that. And then when I turn my phone back on, getting ready to go to the airport, I'm living like a drug addict at this time. So I'm like, I'm going to go and get drugs before I go so I can get high on my way to rehab. like, that's kind of what you think. It's like insanity at that point. Your whole life's falling apart around you. And when I turned my phone on, I got calls from the police station and all kinds of people. My uncle went on his way to work at 7 in the morning, stopped a police officer on the side of the road, and said, "You're looking for Jeff Murray? He was hiding in my house, and they were going to arrest him for harboring me, for hiding me." And he was like, "No, no, no." He held me and my wife hostage. He had a gun and a knife, and he came through my window and wouldn't let me answer the door.
Mm.
He stuck to his guns, man. My stepdad ended up getting arrested for it, all this. And like, this is the same stepdad that I felt didn't welcome me as a child, too. So it's put a lot of friction in my family. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. He said I kidnapped him and held him hostage and all kinds of stuff. And around the same time, I was dealing with a real difficult breakup in my family. And I felt stripped away from me. So I was just like, yo, whatever you guys want to happen, I'll take. I don't even care no more. I have no reason to even, you know what I mean? I didn't care no more. And I was all fucked up on drugs and not just, my mind was not right by any means. I told them if they give me less than 10 years, I would take it for that case. I just explained to you is what happened.
Yeah.
And I was willing to take 10 years. I was like, if you can give me 10 or better, I'll take it. I don't even care. My lawyer said, "What's wrong with you?" Yeah, what's wrong with you? Hold on. I'll get you 3 years with 64 years open on probation. I took this. And I just completed it. What's up? I just completed the probation. I just completed it. I just completed the probation, dude. Yeah, first time ever completing probation, and I had 64 years over my head for 3.5 years.
Wow. Okay. Good shit, bro. I'm proud of you, dude.
It was turbulent, though. We could talk about that too, but yeah, it wasn't all peaches, but yeah, it worked out. I had to like create a job, make a job because I couldn't get one. I had to I had to maneuver. You know what I mean? They had me on a bracelet. I got off the bracelet early when I started my business and stuff. Yeah, it all worked out as best as it could. But man, I was scared. They almost had me by, yeah, for real. And everyone I ever told this to does exactly what you just did. Because it was, man, it was like gut wrenching, man. You realize what they could do to you? Yeah, no.
Did you do time upstate for that case right there? And if not, then at what point do you end up going up there and getting your time? And then
That's this case right I'm talking to. This was when I ended up taking my state bid 3 years upstate.
okay,
That's what the deal I ended up taking was. They didn't have nothing else on the table but big numbers. They were trying to say like 12 to, you know what I mean, like big, just ridiculous numbers. And I didn't do this, but I had some violations of restraining orders and some other things that were just, they weren't willing to look past. It made me look very unstable and crazy. And I had gone into court and said wild stuff. Like I wasn't in my right mind. I wasn't. I said the most wild things, embarrassing things. Like was going. I think I could touch briefly on it. If you decide maybe I shouldn't, maybe you can edit it after. But going through that breakup, it had just made myself look unstable and psychotic. Really, like I never hit her. I never hit her. I never did no weirdo shit. No, you know what I'm saying? Nothing bad. I was violent and crazy, scared the shit out of this one good person that I had met after living a life of chaotic mess. So this girl wasn't equipped to deal with that, got scared, and ended up going the opposite route of me. You know what I'm saying? At that time, especially. And it affected me. It made it so I was willing to just take whatever they had to give me, and in hopes of her not hating me or not, holding everything I had done against me. You think this is what I deserve? Give it to me then. I'll do it. I'll eat it. Let's go. So I ended up popping out to something I didn't even do and going upstate. I ended up going upstate for 3 years. I'm trying to remember why I went directly to the max. It might have just been my points from the county, all the fights I have ever been in, and fought the move team probably 20 times. I mean, all that. So I don't know, but I didn't even get a chance to go to a medium. I went to Walpole and then directly to the max.
So when you get to the max, what's your experience? First of all, what's your experience in county like? And then what's your experience once you get into Walpole? And then after that, we'll get into your experience in the max. But I kind of want to get your grasp on what your experience in county in Walpole is, in going through Walpole is like.
So county, I think it's just like different size tanks, really. County is the smaller tank. It's the little local. You know what I mean? It's easy if you know how to carry yourself and you know people, especially. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
DYS set me up for the county. It was all the same people. We already had bonds with these people and of all races and all people, everyone there. So it was easy. It was always the county was always a cakewalk and almost like even in a package to get to go in because you don't care about going in that much. Go revoke my bail and go back. Like the county was never really, it wasn't. I don't know. It kind of was desensitized to it. And now I remember first going in how driving me crazy sitting in a cell 23 hours a day. It felt like just being stuck in a cell. But then that got you ready for the max too. So I never really got that like shock of, oh my God, I hate it here. Like whole time never really bothered me like that I knew of. It made me crazy. I didn't know it until later, but it didn't bother me. Mentally, I thought I could do this. I'm good. Like, and after the deuce, there's stories of me doing crazy stuff because, like, yeah, bro, being segregated and always enclosed and in your mind thinking that it's strong. Like, the stronger your mind gets, the weirder you kind of seem to people. In a sense, in those scenarios, it's like I don't know how to explain it. But
In the county though, you were in your own city's county jail. You're around all the people from your city and the surrounding cities. Did you get a sense of like what kind of reputation that Fall River had in the max, and like how was the crew down there, like as far as unity and loyalty, and what your expectations were for update?
all right, so I'm actually glad you said that because it just made something click in my head too. I wish this is the stuff I wish I could keep my timeline. Like Deuce really fried me out somewhere, and
That's all right, man. That's what I'm here for.
when you remind me though, so I remember being in the county and so I went from Dartmouth to Ash Street to upstate. I went to Ash Street before I went up there, which is like a little better of a spot and stuff. And in Dartmouth, it would be like this crew of people. If they think they're going to court with you and they're hearing 20 years, 15 years, 12 years, they know you're getting ready to go upstate. You start, kind of they're coming to gravitate around you to state convicts, real convicts, and teach you like, hey, yo, that what you're doing with that dude, like kind of teach you the politics ahead of time. They made it seem so like militant, strict, and like we are the most solid people ever, and Fall River dudes is Fall River, like my whole life. I remember being a kid, a little ass kid, and the drunk construction work is walking down the street like Fall River,
Yeah.
like, it was like in the culture, dude. So you're in the county, you think like Fall River dudes stick together upstate, they're good dudes, and then closer you get to going upstate, you start hearing more and more not good things. Like, yeah, man, be careful with the Fall River dudes. They're kind of fucked up on drugs, and yeah, they'll do stunts. They'll pull fucking weirdo moves, and be careful. Don't leave your mail out with that. Like you start, or anyone that ever comes to the county from elsewhere, when they hear you're going upstate, will tell you a story that'll be the opposite of what the local guys will tell you. You know what I'm saying? And Johnny Nemec, my boy, he told me something that resonates with me right now. He said, I hope you're doing good, Johnny. If you ever see this, brother, real good dude.
Yeah, I know Johnny.
Yeah. So he said, going upstate, you're gonna blossom. You might blossom into a beautiful fucking rose, a good or a pile of shit. Either way, you're gonna blossom. You're gonna develop one thing or the other. You know what I mean? And I never got it until I went upstate. You see those dudes in the county come upstate, and that little habit that was annoying in the county, comes upstate and just becomes full blown up on the green side. Like it's nuts. It's crazy. It's not what I expected. Is what I say that to say this. It's definitely not what I had been told it would be like. Some of the dudes that were in the county with me when I got upstate, they weren't with me, and I was where a regular good white dude would be able to live. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it just wasn't what it was portrayed to be when I was in the county as a kid. It was like they were trying to use it as like a big up, you know what I mean? Like get ready to go in a Walpole. Like Walpole hasn't been Walpole since it was, you know what I mean? It's not the same anymore. It's
classification.
Yeah, and I'd be a fool to even try and act like me doing time when I got there relatable to when you first started doing your, you know what I mean? It's just a completely different culture. It came in at a different time where Suboxone strips were already a thing and K2 would be a thing. And the grip that those took on the facilities Put it this way, I remember having to take a piece of paper this big and like chew on it and spit out the water, swallow it, and then I remember it being a little, the green monster. So it's like that was when I was there, was on just the complete decline of people's integrity, really, in the system, for real. Like dudes that were good dudes on the streets, like real good dudes, are upstate doing crazy stuff, and
How did that make you act, knowing that it wasn't exactly what you thought it was? Did it make you worse, violent wise, or did it make you kind of be like, fall back, like, fucking, I'm good with this shit because these dudes are whack?
And that's a good point. I at first would say, like, fuck this, I'm not gonna deal with it. I'm not even gonna deal with it. I will say this: almost all of my fights were with homeboys. But one of them not doing something right, just doing something crazy and out of pocket, and it's like I gotta do something, or all of them are gonna do something, or you know what I mean? Like it always ended up me being in this position of fighting with people who are supposed to be my friends over junky stuff. And that I lost respect for, but at the same time, these are the people who I'm supposed to expect to jump in if something bad's happening to me. So I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I have to give them some kind of respect, because worst comes to worst, anyone else, they have a reason to not give you loyalty. Now, there were people that I clicked with much tighter from other places than anyone from the city. And I hate to say it like that. I love you all the homeboys. Love you guys. But I did have friends who were much closer with me from other places. One of them, my boy Billy, he was the Vice Lord Kid Billy. He just passed away. God rest his soul. He just passed away. I don't know if you heard.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, dude, he just recently passed away. But he was a very good friend of mine in there. And a kid, Matic. I don't want to get into it.
I know Matic.
I can't remember. I'm saying, so these are the kids I clicked up with, people of that caliber much more than I did with homeboys, because I felt from the jump, homeboys will hope that you have their back when they do something wrong because of that camaraderie. Like, you have to have my back. I'm your homeboy. I can't in good conscience have your back if you're dead wrong doing slime ball shit, And so it kind of put me in a spot of having to like rectify people's situations, but also feeling I have something to prove, because time something happened, I was doing deuce at this time. I would trip out, have a seizure, codes end up getting called, all this. And every time, you leave, you go to medical, you got people whispering, like, oh, did he, and then you come back to the unit and it's like, oh, no. It's like, bro, I heard what you were saying, dude. You know what I mean? I heard you thought I wasn't coming back here. That's what you thought, like, because dudes are so known for doing this grimy shit that you're from Fall River, you're a white dude, you're doing K2, you trip out, oh yeah, he's gone, he ain't coming back. He probably owes somebody money. You know what I mean? So it's like, you feel you have something to prove at that point.
Right.
No matter what, I'm signing any waiver I can. I have to go back there. You know what I mean? I have to. Yeah, dude, that's the way I did my time because of it. For real.
So you had
on the other side. Yeah.
You had an issue in the yard. I remember, talking about jumping in for your homeboys because you feel obligated against one of my people, or against a bunch of my people, I guess, where none of us held it against you because you did the right thing for your boy. No, like, it wasn't even your friend.
No,
yeah. So talk about that. Was that on? Were you high, or like what ended up happening with that situation? I wasn't down the block.
Man, yeah, dude, that was a fucked up scenario. So to be the truth about how it all happened, I feel like I have to kind of talk about before it as well, because it definitely, now hindsight in 2020, it had to have impacted the scenario with my trust issue being there. It was a dude from my city who, without getting too much into it, he wasn't doing the right thing. He wasn't listening to me. And he was on the opposite side of the tier, where none of us were over there, and he was walking around very, very, rah-rah, and causing a lot of problems, saying things he shouldn't have on the tier, and he ended up getting taken out.
I know who you're talking about. PV.
Yes, sir. So he didn't listen. He wasn't listening, and he wasn't conforming. And I hate to say it, but like, when it comes down to politics, bro, who wouldn't want to take you out with the things that were going on? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's got to be some kind of mutual respect. You can't expect people to bow down to you. But at the same time, you think that when, from my perspective, the person involved was one of your brothers, to me, that was one of my brothers.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That, so I'm like, damn, you couldn't tell me. You didn't tell me about it. You didn't, nothing. He's like, well, how, why would I tell you? I know you, I'm saving you from having to be involved, bro. Like, bro, come on. You know what I mean? But it makes it look to anyone else outside, we must have known you're with that dude every day and you didn't know he was going to do that. You know what I mean? It was like, so now I'm getting trust issues. And then that dude that I'm the closest with is now gone because of that scenario. I got my neighbor. Let me give you a visual. I'm in cell 2 and old man Ronnie is in cell 1.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no one else over here. It's us. So I'm sleeping. This is the day after or whatever, the wreck after that happened. Ronnie's like, hey, man, I hope that they're not, mad at all of us. And I went up and talked to the boys. Everyone's like, nah, bro, this is personal. Trust me, dude. Don't get paranoid. Because I've always been like a paranoid. I will come and talk to you first just to see if what I'm feeling. And like if I feel a vibe, like, hey, where's your head at? And chop it up at you and let you know where I'm at. Let me see where you're at. And you know what I'm saying? Feel it out so I know where to go from here. Because I need to think that there's malice if there's not, and I don't want to sleep if there is. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody is going to say, hey, I have a problem with you, and I'm going to see you when the door's open. They're usually going to be like, hey, bro, nah, you're good. You know I love you, bro, and catch you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm sleeping, and now I didn't have my door pegged like I normally would. I normally, naturally keep your door pegged, but I didn't, and I was sleeping on my bunk. And I opened my eyes and my door already open. So this lets you know that I'm obviously, comfortable. I'm not thinking anyone's, I'm not, there's no real malice in the circle of, Chad's my neighbor. I'm saying what's up, like sliding things back and forth. Everything's gravy. So I thought everything was good and I didn't know anything was going to happen. But I guess while I was sleeping, someone new came in and he was in front of cell 1. When I woke up, I hear squeak, 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 about 30 feet squeaking. And I look out my door and see a pig pile in front of cell 1. So I assume, holy shit, Ronnie. You know what I mean? Who else would be in front of cell 1? We're the first 2 cells. There's no other reason to be over here. So I'm thinking that it's Ronnie. And I just start, hitting people, ripping them off and trying to get to the bottom of this pig pile. It was like 4 or 5 dudes on someone. So when I get to the bottom and I get the last dude off and I see someone that I don't even recognize, oh, fuck. And I look back and everyone's like getting up all like, what the fuck, dude? And I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm sorry, but okay, fuck it, I guess, we're already here, sorry, it was mistaken identity, but they're already fired up. I just ran up and hit them. So now they're starting to converge on me, So we been, and there was nothing after that. I came back again, and what I had heard was someone said that I owed money when all that happened. So now I'm like dead set. I have to get back there. I'm going back there. You know what I mean? And they sent me to M1, down to M1, and I'm like yelling and trying to figure out whoever said I owed money. Can you tell them to come out onto the rec deck for me? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nothing ever came of it. But it was just another one of them things. So now the whole time I'm in there not knowing where I stand. Are people trying to kill me up over this? So I'm trying to send word like, bro, listen, you guys, I fuck with you guys. I've always fucked with you guys. If we wouldn't have looked like weirdos being like, oh shit, my bad, it's all good, I would have tried doing that for real, because I really didn't even know this dude, bro. And he ended up sending me, showing me love and this and that, and he's on my Facebook now too. What's up, brother? But I didn't know who he was, and I thought they were jumping my boy. And in the midst of squaring up with 3-4 people, I look, and the dude that I thought was getting jumped is like standing in the corner over there, like, I'm like, what the fuck, bro? It sucked.
Oh man, that must have been that must have been like you get to the bottom, you're like, oh man. Yo, I know from really what like everybody was basically saying was like you thought it was Ronnie, and so you jumped in and everybody had mad love for you anyways, you know what I mean? So
legit, like, yo, what the fuck, dude? And I'm like, yeah, they were all of them were like dumbfounded too, and like looking up, like, what the fuck?
It's because Ronnie's so paranoid. He's probably always talking about, oh, they're gonna jump me, they're gonna get me. I know it, and you're probably thinking like, oh, it's
Ronnie. Yeah, Ronnie was right. They are trying to take all of. They don't want 4 River guys here no more. You know what I mean? That's how he was being. And I mean, you have a more some people don't want to admit it, but on that block, Fall River guys have a little bit of a harder time because of some old wounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With your bros, you know, your boy. And so it's like that has always been mentioned. So I know that it matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because he was under the, you know, Puppet Master's under the impression I'm from the same neighborhood. So now I'm letting Ronnie in my head. Like, oh, yeah, maybe they are against us because they did bring that up. You know? So I'm like, yeah. And then when, like, the energy that they had, though, when it happened, it wasn't like if Jeff jumps in, like, you know, the politics. Like, Jeff, we have to worry about this guy jumping in if we're jumping a forever, dude. There was no energy of that. The energy was complete bafflement. Why are you involved in this? What are you doing? And then I looked at it and was like, oh, fuck. I'm sorry. But I'd rather that than them beat my boy up and think that I just, you know, it was like, damn, bro. And he had just been talking about it. It was, and I was sleeping. I woke up to squeak, squeak, squeak. And just before my eyes even got cleared up, I just seen a pig pile. And I'm like, oh, no, you know, I got to get on with this.
So you get, so let's talk about the situation with the K2, right? You start smoking K2 right when you get there, or you're already doing it before you get there? And then how does that move forward, and like what starts happening to you while you're doing it that makes it so out of control?
We'll say I didn't get as out of control as some other people in the max, man. There's some people really, really, really losing themselves to it. That bad. For my standards, it was bad enough. I mean, I didn't know where I was, who I was. I mean, I've had so many interactions with this stuff that we could probably do a segment just on douche trips. I mean, I've talked to, this is going to make me look crazy, but like, I thought I was talking to entities, the 3 shadow entities, and I like flew up from Earth past the galaxies, and they were like, you got to get back down in your Earth body. You have things you have to do. You have to go back down and finish your time. It was just crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. And they had bro, they had me like writing, right? So I remember sitting there writing in a notebook, tripping out, and they're like, dude, you can try and write it, but your mind can't comprehend it. You're not even gonna be able to read it in the morning. And I wrote it, and I'm like, yeah, we'll see. I wrote this shit. Next day, and I could look at it. It looked like I thought I could read it when I wrote it. And the next day, it was just like scribbles and holes ripping the page, full on seizures. Just, yeah, it was bad, bro. When I first got to my first night in the max, I was in the cell in M1 with this crazy old man. And the first thing he says to me is, hey, maybe that deodorant, we could trade that for a little sliver, an eyelash. Right? He's like, we could trade that for a sliver, an eyelash. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, yeah, it's just like smoking weed. He fucking rolled this shit, and it was little flakes of paper, you know, and put it in tea or pepper, might have been pepper. And I took one hit. I thought that I had to like watch my back with this dude for the rest of the night. Like I was just so paranoid, bro. Just no, you know what I mean? Like just nah, I'm not feeling this, bro. It's my first day upstate. This guy's offering me drugs. What's this dude's angle, bro? You know what I mean, dude? I was so paranoid. It was so terrible that I was like, I'm not gonna do that shit ever again, ever. Nah, I did it for a while. Then I don't know what really. I ended up with a single cell. That's probably what made it all transpire differently, because then you get comfortable doing the drug, you know. So I'd be in a single, and I had boys that, you know, everyone's selling it, so just not paying for it at the time. And they'll be like, yeah, if you know, rip a little square off and hit it in a pipe instead of rolling a joint, it'll be different. It's not the same high. You won't get so paranoid. No, bro, I legit go into the ether and die. But, you know, really fucking legit out of body experiences. I remember one time I woke up in medical with cops all around. Well, I woke up in medical probably like 5 or 6 times, but this one time I woke up in medical with cops all around me, and I was in red. And I was like, am I in hell? Where am I? What's going on? And I had like a winter hat on. It was cold. And my winter hat somehow got bunched up while they were fucking moving me. And I don't even know if I could say this. You might have to edit this out. But I woke up screaming like, I'm a fucking Jew. I'm a Jew. How? What happened? And I just was tripping out. I was incoherent, fighting with the cops. Like one time I was seizing up, and I told them So when you seize up, you just think it's nothing or you're flying through the sky. And in reality, you're like punching the floor, telling them to come in and fight you and doing all kinds of weird shit, not remembering it. So they come in, and I remember what I do remember was sitting on the floor, Indian style. And I thought I said, "Don't touch me, I'll be all right." And then they just started grabbing me. And I was like, don't touch me. And it sounds weird, but there's however many people on a unit that can vouch for this. I ended up getting strapped on this board. They strapped me to the board. I broke through the straps on the board and like bit one of the cops, started swinging, kicked two of them in the face, broke one of their shoulders somehow. They end up dropping the top half of the gurney and then they're dragging me by my balls and my feet and slamming my head on the stairs the whole way down. And they fucked me up so bad that I woke up in the back of an ambulance with some cop saying, "If you bite me again, I'm spraying you." And I blacked out again. And then I woke up again with a catheter and like a little Down syndrome girl putting a flower on my windowsill like I was dead already. I was like, what the fuck? In Leominster Hospital, dude. Like, it was the trippiest, just like, what the fuck just happened? How did I end up here? The cops wouldn't talk to me for like a week, sitting on the side of me the whole time. They have a cop sitting when you're in the hospital. They wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't even give me a word. And one night, like 3 in the morning, this white cop there talking, and I finally get some conversation, and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? He said, what did you do? He said, we got 3 cops out of work because of you, and one of them probably ain't coming back. I'm like, no, dude, like, I'm dreading this now. I'm like, what did I just do to my life? They're like, oh, yeah, you're getting formally charged. Don't worry, you'll hear all about it in court. It was bad, bro. It was bad. And the cop ended up being out for 9 months. They tortured. He milked it though, obviously. You know what I mean? But yeah, they tortured me for a little bit. I got shipped around. I went to Concord Hold, waiting to go to DDU, and I just let myself be as like animalistically free as possible. I'm holding every cage hostage. I'm holding anything I can hostage. I'm running any chance I can, even though you're just going to shoot me, put me back in a cage. Like, it was one of those, you know what I mean? And we had a good group of people all on that same page. Like, I know it sounds crazy to say good group of people, but in that scenario, these are the types of people who are considered good to be with, because they'll do what's crazy with you,
Yep.
and we all got what we wanted. We had fans and radios in the whole way to go to DDU. So I was taking like ambulance trips in the night just to get AC. It was.
Did you end up in disciplinary detention unit?
I did.
I mean, DDU, sorry, disciplinary. Yeah. Wow, I'm like space shot right now. Yeah, did you end up in the DDU?
Yeah,
how was your bit over there?
I've already done that whole time. Like, before I even went upstate, I had been done that whole time for fighting. So like, that environment doesn't really bother me. And then when you know how to operate, you know what I mean? So I already had people that have been there that I'm familiar with. So they told me how to operate. So I had everything I needed right away. I was getting high right away when I got there. That was one thing that was consistent throughout my entire bid, was drug abuse. That was the one thing, no matter where I went, no matter where, I had drug abuse. You know what I'm saying? Full-blown Suboxone habit and doing K2 whenever you can, you know what I mean? And that got to the point where it like fried me out, to where people were like, my boy Billy would be like, what's up with your eyes? Why your eyes look like that? Like, shit changed me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just started tweaking me out, man. I don't know how to explain it, man. I turned into a whack job or something. So it took a few older heads coming up to me and being like, bro, you're not the same. And like, I was chilling with the kid Chaos from out there. Yeah, so he, you know what I mean? We were kicking it and stuff, and then what block that was on, but he was getting real bad with it. Without putting him out there, you know what I mean? I don't remember the block, but he had, he's like me too, man. We've had different episodes in different places, so he was on one of his trying to do better, and he's like, bro, this shit's making you change, bro, and I know how it feels because I went through it, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's like that. He's like, dude, do you think I'm the same as I was? Nah, you're right. Yeah, I got to change then if it's like that, because he didn't think he was different, and I saw him change. So it was like, yeah. So, yeah, man, that's when I was like, all right, I got to stop doing this. And I started trying to more like, make money from it and stuff. And it just, yeah, man, I have you doing things like my family having to send me so much money so much money sending my dad running around doing cash app and that. Like, you know what I mean? Hitting people up on a three-way for money and then telling them that it's for gambling or
Wow.
food. You know what I'm saying? Like, just manipulating my family to use the paper to get paper. And like,
Wow.
that's one,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
main thing I'm not proud of is that right there. Because I had periods on my bid where I was good, but then when you have to ask your family to be able to get something like that, it's just disgusting, you know. And then it's gone, just like crack. You do it, it's
Word.
gone.
It is. It's just like crack. That's the closest drug that I can think of. It's I mean, as far as addictiveness and as how you spend money on it, it's like crack. But it's like mescaline crack. It's like fucking hallucinogenic crack. But
Yeah,
it's terrible. It does horrible things to people's brains. But let me cut this here, right? Because I think this is a great starting point for the live that we're gonna do next week. Awesome interview, bro. Great stories. This was a fucking pleasure. I could talk to you all night, but we're running on about, I think, 2 hours or some shit.
we're about 7. Yeah, about 7. Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, man. So this week coming up, me and you are gonna be live on the W number. Make sure you guys show up. Dynamite dude here.
Likewise,
we're gonna
bro.
get into some awesome K2 stories and the rest of his disciplinary detention unit and how he changed his life around, what he's doing now. I mean, that's the most important part to me. But I appreciate everybody for showing up. Everybody who's here right now, still watching. Salute. My boy's got somebody he wants to shout out. We're gonna let him do his little shout out, and then we'll see you on Monday.
All right, I want to give a shout out to Boom Squad Radio, DJ Bobby Boom for letting me use the studio. He's got a nice setup here. This is going to be the same place that I go live with you from. I want to give a shout out to all, the homeboys upstate and all my friends, all my brothers that are around there doing good and changing their lives. We're home now. We can do whatever we want. We don't ever have to go back once we're out. That's what I try to want to get across to people, man. We do not have to continue to relive the vicious cycles that have had us hating ourselves, man. We're free now, and if you're free now and you're able to watch this, you can still do something to make that change too, man. And it's unbelievable. I don't know about you, man. I'm proud every time I think of where I've been and all the things you've been through until now. Like, even now when something's bad, I'm like, bro, I'm winning. Grateful on a bad day now. You know what I mean? And,
Absolutely, bro.
Definitely looking forward to we got some more stories, and there's a lot of K2 stories, to be honest with you. A lot of
it's so much.
One thing I want to say though is how much have you ever noticed that, like, good memories, right? When you're in prison, so I have more like recollectable, like easily referenceable memories of laughing and funny ass people, like just the funniest things in there. Compared to like out there, maybe we don't recognize them or remember them, but I think things in there, it's just like the funniest laughing, like, me and OKC, and I know when he sees this he's gonna laugh. But we were all together, and man, like just save that. We'll save that because
that's gonna be a good
fine. Bad, bro.
Jeff, man, it's a pleasure, bro. I appreciate everybody who showed up tonight. Again, see you next week. Hopefully on Monday, me and him are gonna be live Monday night. So be there, man. Appreciate everybody showing up. W number out.